So just yesterday I saw a comment on my How to Work for Yourself video, and it was, all right, awesome video. Now I just need to figure out what I'm passionate about or what I should actually do. And so I thought, let's make a video about that. If you know you want to work for yourself, maybe as a freelancer, maybe it's just because you want to earn more money, have more freedom, maybe you want to become a digital nomad. How do you take that desire and then figure out actually what you should do? And this is something that I've been coaching people on and working with people for quite a while. And in this video, I'm going to pack in as much as I possibly can on it. So step one is to take a personal inventory, like figure out who the hell are you, right? And for this, there's a couple things to look at. There's strengths and talents, and sometimes those overlap. And then there is skills. Skills are specific things you've learned. So if you're thinking about a resume, think Adobe Photoshop, Microsoft Word, sales meetings, that sort of thing. Strengths and talents are more personality aspects. So maybe you're really, like a strength would be that you're great with people, or you can always convince people to do what you want, or maybe I've always been good with writing. So writing would be a talent of yours. You haven't necessarily developed that talent into a marketable skill yet, but you've had that talent in school. Kids said, or maybe kids, maybe your teacher said, you're really good at writing, you have a strength here, that kind of thing. Other strengths could be things like you're really well organized, you're good at problem solving, you're good at dealing with multiple things at one time, stuff like that. So personality strengths. Now, the best way to figure these out, if some don't already come to mind, there's two areas. One is taking different personality tests. And the second is just thinking about situations where you've done awesome things. So that's what we're going to start out with here and do it as a bit of an exercise. So what I want you to do is come up with 5 different scenarios that you can remember from your past that you have felt good about. You've accomplished something, you've done something you're proud of. Maybe it's not something you're proud of even, but objectively it's an accomplishment. So to give you an example of that is, like, I graduated from a fairly top university in psychology. I don't consider that an accomplishment. Like, that's just how I am. I skipped my graduation ceremony. But to outside people, that is an accomplishment, and it's probably because I'm too hard on myself that I never took the time to celebrate that. So thinking of 5 accomplishments or moments in your life that you're really proud of. So what's the first one? Number 1. Seriously, tell me. I'm working with the NSA, I can hear you. First situation, maybe write it down, maybe just say it out loud. You got it? First situation you're really proud of. Cool. Second situation, think of a moment in your time, in your past, that you were feeling really proud of yourself. You were challenged and you overcame a challenge and you accomplished something awesome. What's that thing? Got it? Cool. Let's do the third one. Third, think of something that you've accomplished that maybe to you wasn't a big deal, but if you really objectively think about it, it might have been a big deal to most other people. Think of something. Cool. And we need the fourth one. Fourth one, something that you have accomplished in your past that you felt really proud of, that at the end you're like, yeah, that's pretty awesome. Not a lot of people do that. Fourth one, got it? Cool. And one more, the last is a wild card. Anything you feel was a great accomplishment or you were proud of, just write that down or say it out loud to me. I'll write it down for you here. If you are older or not good with technology, I can't really hear you, so I'm not actually writing this down, so don't complain when I don't send you back the notes. The NSA may have it though, so that's all good. Cool, so you've got those 5 things, right? Now save those. We're not going to use them anymore in this video, but I want you to save those moments, because what you'll do later is to go back to them and think of what strengths, what talents, or what skills of yours allowed you to accomplish that, right? So for instance, if I think back to, I'll take the university example because it's the one I used before. If I think back to my university degree, how was I able to get that degree? Was it hard work and hours of studying? If I was editing this, I'd put images of me at 20, just maybe a little drunk. No, it was not necessarily hard work and persistence. What it was is I was studying things I enjoyed. The classes on psychology, especially certain topics that I really liked, were the ones I always did best in. I'm relatively smart, and I knew when to work intelligently. So when I had to do things, I managed to pull it off. That for me would be probably the traits that got me through university. So that's the kind of process to think about for each of these areas. So the next thing is to think of 3 people who've known you for quite a while. So you don't have to have been in touch with them for the last decade, but you should have known them for at least a decade. So when you first met. This could be a teacher, an old boss. It can be family and good friends, but don't make that everyone because they have different ways of seeing us. So think of those 3 people now. Just 3 people. It could be high school teachers, it could be an old boss, anyone that you could get in contact with. Go. 1, 2, 3, got them? Cool. So your next homework assignment is to contact them and say, hey, I'm watching this really weird, annoying guy on YouTube and he's helping me figure out what kind of business I should start or what kind of freelancing profession I should have, or heaven forbid you want to get a job. What kind of job you could be good at. And in that, and then ask, I'm wondering, like, from your memory of me or from your knowledge of me, what are a few things that I do really well, better than most people? That's the only question to ask. Now you can always clarify, go back and forth, but just what are a few things that I do better than most people? And you could add to it that I might not be aware of or I might not notice. Often the things we do really well, we don't actually realize are unique things to us because it comes so naturally that we don't see the value in it, right? This happens with freelance writers or people who are really good at talking or sales sort of stuff, is it comes natural, so they don't realize that it's a relatively rare strength to have. So if you actually do those 2 exercises, you're going to start to get a really good sense of some things you're good at. And then the next thing from there is you want to compile an inventory of basically options, what you could be doing as your freelance profession, or if you want to use this to do something else, you can do that as well, right? Basically compiling your options. Now that makes me think I should probably make a video on that as well, or I have some older content on that I might share here on YouTube from a paid course of mine. So I'll cover you on that if you're going the freelance route. I'll make sure I get some content up on that soon so that you can go over the various options, like what actually could you be doing? And then you can use your inventory of your strengths, what you're good at, and the list and compare them. And then the other thing that you want to keep in mind, although it should not be your driving force, is economic factors. So some things do pay better than others or have more opportunities, but that should not be your only driving factor by any means. And you also want to consider the potential lifestyle elements of it, right? So certain jobs are going to require different hardware setups in terms of computers or that, different location requirement. So if your goal is to become like a digital nomad and travel the world while you do your work, you want to keep that in mind and make sure that the freelance route you go down will allow you to do that. Now, fortunately with technology, most things allow you to do that now, so it's not that big of a deal. So now you have that, and maybe you narrow down this list, and again, I'll make sure to provide that somewhere or create it, I guess. I'm making more work for myself. This is ridiculous. So you want to take that list and your short list from it and apply the 70% rule. Now this is as I believe, a Dan invention, something that I've talked about in another video. And it is the approach of when you are 70% sure that something is a good path, to go down it, right? So often what we want is we want perfection. We want to know, okay, I need 100%, I need charts, I need a PowerPoint, I need graphs before I'm even gonna start anything, right? Because the worst thing I could do is fail. I'd much rather just do nothing and sit around. So we end up sort of paralyzed, right? Analysis paralysis, they call it. That's not good, you don't want that. So the 70% rule is saying that when you're about 70% sure that a route is right for you, just do it, and then you'll learn from it and figure it out. One of 2 things will happen. It turns out it is the right route for you to go down, and you're like, awesome, I picked the right one, life is awesome. Or it turns out it isn't, but it's probably somewhat closer to what you wanted. So one of two things will happen is you'll either go down it and it's not the right path and you'll say, okay, it's not quite there, but I'm almost there. So I just need to tweak my offer a little bit and I think I'll be happier. And then maybe you get 80% there, 90% there, right? And you keep tweaking it over a year or two until you end up in your perfect niche and profession. The other thing that can happen is you go down a route and you realize, I hate this. This is a terrible thing. I do not enjoy this at all. In which case you reset, but you've learned a lot about yourself. It's valuable to try something and fail, or to try something and not like it. That's how you gain the most insight into yourself. So trust me, as someone who's tried a lot of things and failed a lot of times and done a lot of dumb stuff along the way, this is the best way to accelerate your learning process. Jump in, try something. I'm not saying take your life savings and jump in, or like remortgage your house. Freelancing usually requires a very minimal investment, like a few $1,000 maybe for some training, for some web stuff or graphics or that. Jump in, try it, see what happens, and then adjust. And this is something that I experienced myself, but I've also seen in the students in the Free Freelancer, which is my group coaching and training program, is some people join the program and they're fairly sure they want to go down a certain freelancing route. So they say, hey, just an example, like, hey, I want to be a freelance writer, and they join the program. And then they realize through the program and through getting their first few clients, like, actually, I don't really necessarily like writing for other people, or I find, there's something with it I don't like. But in the process of dealing with clients, I realized that a lot of them have X problem, right? They have horrible websites. And I think actually I'd prefer to make websites. That's more fun for me. Something like that. And that happens a lot. So we start out going down one route, and then by going down that route, you learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about business in general, like how to sell people and what invoices are and all that. And you also learn a lot about specific industries, right? So you start working with clients, and then you're like, hey, they have all these problems I could solve. Maybe I could do this for them, or maybe I could do that for them. And it's how you gain that knowledge to get to 100%. If you have not worked for yourself before, or are in your first couple months of it or something, there's no way you're ever going to get to 100% in terms of your knowledge about where you should focus, because you just don't have enough knowledge. And the only way you get that kind of knowledge is by doing. It's by working with clients, it's by failing, it's by succeeding, it's by learning as you go. When you're learning, whether it's from like a training course or books or just whatever it is, videos obviously, you learn a lot quicker when you're applying it, when there's money on the line. And this is something one of my students said to me the other day is, like, holy crap, I'm learning so much faster now that I have some things on the line. Like I'm working on proposals for clients and all that. Because before then, you don't have deadlines, you kind of dabble, you take your sweet time on everything. Once you're learning with a client and money is on the line, I would say triple, maybe you 10x your learning speed and how quickly you learn, how motivated you are, and how much more you get done. So what are the next steps here? First, complete those inventory activities. Take your self-inventory. What are you good at? Go over your accomplishments. Again, focus on accomplishments for now, not failures. It's not going to help you. So focus on what you've done well. Look for those strengths. Identify strengths and talents. Skills are good to know as well. Like if you happen to be a great programmer or writer, awesome. But if you don't, you can learn that as well. So personally, I would lean towards more the talents and strengths of where to focus, and then figure the skills as something to learn over time. That's my own approach with it. But if there's a skill you've developed because you also have a strength in that area, then perfect, you're ready to go. So as I said, there's a few ways to develop that. Personality test can be helpful, but I would start with reaching out to friends and family, like I said. So reach out to 3 people, maybe past colleagues, old friends, extended family members are probably better than close ones, and ask them like, what is some skills or talents or strengths I have that you may notice that I probably have missed. Similarly, go through that activity on the 5 accomplishments and what you can learn from each one. That's going to give you your basic inventory. The next step, which again, I made more work for myself, is to look at some of your options, right? So I will link to that, probably a pop-up now, whatever side it's on for the video, and I'll put it below in the description. I'll create some more resources for you for that, which is going to be so much work, but I'm going to do it because I promised you. So I'm going to create some resources where you can actually look at what are the available jobs, what's on the market that you could possibly do. Last is narrow it down, shortlist it, and then just pull the trigger and get going. And then you're looking at how do you get your first clients, and I have other videos on that as well, and content. So obviously there's a lot to learn, but that's part of anything in life, right? You don't become a doctor overnight. University takes 4 or 5 years, depending on how you do it. Things take time. And so this is the first step. If you really want to narrow it down, get clear on who you are, what your strengths are. Look at the inventory, basically, of, I shouldn't say inventory, look at the options list that I'll come up with. That's probably going to be in video form, though. And then take a risk, try something out, see how you do, adjust, see how you do, adjust. And within a couple of years, you're going to be so focused and doing the exact thing that is right for you. And along those few years, you're going to learn so much through your trials, errors, successes. It's going to be awesome. That's it. I'm going to link to all the things that I've promised you here at the, end of the video, in the description. Like I said, everywhere. There'll be a lot of links. You can't miss it. And that's it. If you are going down this route of freelancing, working for yourself, I would definitely encourage you to head to my website, dreamsaroundtheworld.com, and I have a 9-part free training that you can sign up for called the Life Design Approach. And again, that is about figuring out what you want to do and how to design the life you want around who you are, right? So rather than saying like, here's how you can make money online, it's like, figure out who you are, figure out what you want, and then design your life on that. And it's a pretty fun training as well. So join that. And if you haven't already, do subscribe to the channel. As I said, I'll make more videos along this path of working for yourself and all that, and you'll get them all. Cheers. If you have questions, leave them in the comments below. Thanks.